Welcome to Intro to Python. This is lesson 1. My name is Marcus Lee. You might know me from the game development with Scratch unit lessons, but today we'll be going over Python. So let's start off. What is Python? So Python is a high-level programming language used for a variety of purposes throughout computer science. It's often used for data structure, analyzing data, making algorithms, often used for machine learning, like for example, TensorFlow and PyTorch. And it's great to get into, coding because compared to other languages like Java or C++, it's, a lot more user-friendly towards the beginning. And it's also become very popular. It's surged in popularity very recently, and now it's very widespread among software engineering. So where will we be working with Python? I'm going to be using Replit.com. You might be familiar with it just because it's very easy to use. It's very easy to store all my projects in there. You are free to use any IDE you wish. Again, it's not like I could stop you if I wanted to, but I prefer using Replit just because I can navigate there easily. I can find all my projects there easily. It's great for, small little games or mini side projects that I have going on. You can use VS Code, Colab, Jupyter Notebook, even the terminal if you need to. Anything to use Python and run it works perfectly. So this is what Replit looks like. You are going to need to create an account if you don't have one. But once you're there, this is what it kind of looks like. Well, this is not the home page, but this is if you go to your profile and hit, I think, profile or my REPLs. I think this is it. So we're going to create a REPL. We're going to use Python, right? And we'll call it lesson 1, whatever you want to call it. Create. And this is what it'll look like. So on the right is going to be your console, which is going to be your output of whatever you use. Over here is going to where you're actually going to, create your code. To your farthest left is going to be all your files, any packages that you have, but don't worry about that for now. It does have a built-in AI tool. I would prefer if you disable it just because otherwise it'll give you a lot of suggestions and it'll be kind of annoying sometimes. So let's start off with the basics of Python, okay? This is lesson 1 after all. So if we want to actually output stuff to the console, if we want to output text, we're going to use a print function. We're going to start at the very beginning. And you're going to see this a lot in computer science, but they're always going to have like print hello world, okay? Let's run this. There you go. You can see hello world. So the print function, as it says, print, it'll put whatever text you have into the console. That's what it's going to do. And the syntax for that, syntax is how code is written, okay? The way it needs to be written. Because with code, it's very, very imperative that you write it the exact way that it needs to be written. If you have something misplaced or a quotation mark here, it's going to mess up literally everything of your code, and it's going to be a nightmare to debug. So that's why you need to follow this exact syntax. And the print function has the parentheses. So I'm also going to introduce you to a new concept, comments, right? With Python, the comment keyword is going to be the hashtag, and a comment is just like a little note that you have for your code. It's like a little sticky note, right, that you have that says, what your code does, what it's supposed to do, etc. It doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't run, right? The computer doesn't run it. It's just there for you or whoever else is helping you code. It's just there to help you organize your code. So I'm just going to use this because I don't want it to actually run. I'm going to say this is the syntax. It's going to be like that, right? Print your parentheses, and then, oops, right? What did I do? Escape, okay. And in that parentheses is your quotation marks. The quotation marks is what we call a string. And that's going to lead me to a very big concept called variables, okay? There are a bunch of different types of variables. Int, string, actually I'll just keep this on one line. Int, yeah, there we go, okay. Int, string, and boolean, and then a float. I'll just start off with these 4 for now. So an int is an integer. That is a whole number from like negative infinity to a positive infinity. So any negative or positive number just has to be a whole number, okay? And that's where you're going to do all your math with it. A string is going to be your text, and strings are always going to have quotation marks. So this hello world up here, that is a string. That is text. If it's in quotation marks, it's string. So even if you have something that looks like this, right, that is not an int, that is a string because it's in quotation marks. If I had something like this, then that's an int. A Boolean is something that is true or false. And that's going to be very helpful for, determining if to do something or not. And a float is going to be your decimals. So your 6.6, your 2.1111, right? That's what you're going to use for decimals. And these are the big four variable types that you're going to need to know. And you're probably wondering, what the heck is a variable? This guy keeps throwing around that word around, and I don't know what that means. So let me explain. A variable is basically like a container. And whatever you assign to that variable, that's going to be the value that it has. So you're probably wondering, like, why can't I just say computer, say hi, right? You're going to need a print function. And let's say I don't like hello world. I want to put that into something else. Okay, we're going to use a variable. We're going to put a variable inside this print function. Variables, you declare it like this. Okay, and this is where Python is very user friendly, because usually you'd have to declare the variable, declare the type of variable. As in, you'd have to say string x equals whatever. With Python, you don't have to do that. It'll automatically assign the different type of variable to whatever you have. So I'm going to call my variable var, okay? Short for variable, equals, the equals assigns whatever I have here to var, and let's say hello there, right? And now, since I have my print function, and it's in the parentheses, I'm going to do print var. And now, what that does is it looks what var is. Var is, quote, hello there, and it's going to print that. It's going to output it to the console. When I run it, hello there, right? And that's a string. So now, let's try making a variable with an integer. Let's say we have number equals 67. There you go, okay? And we're going to do print number. Hello there, 67. Nice. Okay, so those are our 4 different variable types, and since it automatically knows that it's an integer, it's going to print that. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce another topic, and this is going to be pretty important. This is going to be called an input, okay? Input. An input is, as it suggests, like a question, an input to the user. So whatever I have in here, it'll ask the user. So usually I'm going to have text, and it'll say input, what is your name? I'm going to store this into a variable. Whatever comes in here is going to be a string. Okay, this is kind of complicated, so I'm going to take this slow. Since this is a string, it's automatically string. Since what I'm asking is a string, whatever I enter into that input is going to be a string. And I'm going to store that into a variable, right? This is the syntax for declaring a variable, your variable name, then an equals, and then your value. Let me write that down. Variable syntax. Variable name equals value. So you can see here, variable name equals, equals, and then your value. So now I'm going to put this into a variable. Let's say name equals input, what is your name? So let's run that. We got our hello there, we got our 67. And we're going to say, my name is Marcus. Oops. And now it doesn't do anything with that, because while we have it stored inside of name, it doesn't do anything with name, right? It just has it inside of its memory. So now we're going to print something. And here's going to be our second topic, and that's going to be string concatenation. So this is going to be our last topic, and then I'll do a little bit of review, and then we'll be finished, because this is a lot, okay? And in the second lesson, I'll do a little bit review of what we learned here. So don't fret if you haven't completely absorbed this right now. So string concatenation. String concatenation is basically the addition of strings. So you're probably wondering, how can I print their name and print something else, right? I can print their name. If I print their name, it'll just, print out what I entered. It'll print out Marcus, right? Because I have that stored inside of the variable. However, what if I wanted to say something like, hello, Marcus? How would I do that? That's where I'm going to use string concatenation. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make it a string, right? Quotation marks, string. That's my text. Hello, comma. And then I'm going to have a plus, because I'm adding the two strings together. Name is a string, because that's my input. And hello is a string, because it's in quotes. And I'm going to combine those together, and it's going to print out. So let's see what that does. Hello there, what is your name? First I have to enter my name. We'll do Marcus. Hello, Marcus. Look at that, right? So now let's do a little bit review, okay? So basically that addition symbol, that plus symbol, adds the strings together. And so you can do that as many times as you need to. So if I wanted to do something like this, hello, Marcus. Nice, we'll do a comma. Nice to meet you. You see how I combine hello and name, and then I combine that to nice to meet you. And that is string concatenation. Okay, let's recap, okay? We have our variables. Variable name equals, then our value. We have comments, right? Little notes that we have inside of our code. They don't run. They're just there to help us organize our code or tell us what code does what. We have our print function. Print function just outputs stuff to the console, to the user. And we have our different types of variables. Our int, string, boolean, float. Int is any whole number that can be negative or positive. String is text, and that's going to be inside of quotation marks, as you can see up here. Our boolean is going to be true or false, and our floats are going to be decimals. Right? We declared another variable, 67. We printed that variable, right? Using the print syntax this is our print syntax, print keyword and then parentheses. And then we covered input. Input just asks the user a question, right? It asks the user to type in something, enter an information in input. And then string concatenation combines strings together, right? It uses the plus symbol to combine those together. That is a lot of information. So just play around with that. Try making your own different types of variables. Try printing out different types of code. You can print out, little messages. You can, ask yourself questions, ask the user questions using an input. You can combine strings. Try playing around with these different topics and see what you can make. And then we'll move on to lesson 2 and we'll cover some more topics. That's a lot, but it should be a pretty good introduction to, the beginning parts of Python.